Guns, abortion, a massive culture war. American politics is serious, not some kind of stupid game. That's why you don't get the Democrat Party funding the advertisements of Republican candidates. No! Hello there, you 5.7 million awakening wonders. Thanks for joining us on this voyage towards truth with all of its complexity, all of its nuance, and a tirade of disinformation, misinformation, cisinformation, kissinformation, disinformation, everywhere, trying to prevent us from awakening. Well, we won't stand for it, will we? Of course we bloody well won't. If you ain't turned on the notification bell yet, turn on the notification bell now. We make videos every single day, and it's vitally important that you watch every last one of them in case the algorithm's like some sly, slippery binary serpent trying to direct you away from truth and channel you off into the streams of the main is who I'm talking about, those guys. Hey, listen, we've got some lovely stories for you today. You're going to absolutely love this. Would you believe that in this current climate, where the political landscape is so fraught, where there's so much tension, where there's so much argument, sincerity, sturm and drang, that the Democrat Party are literally funding Republican Party candidate advertisements in order to sort of bias. If politics is anything at all, it must be sincere. Look at the sincere stances taken at the podium, the sincere advertisements and campaigns, the tears. Oh, it's for the children, it's for the children. But actually, you know, like how you and me think it's like some sort of game and they're on the sly and they're just taking the donor money and they don't care and don't maintain its momentum. You'll never be able to intervene in situations where the interests of the powerful would be affected. Well, that's basically true. Because look, here's more evidence of just absolutely stupid skullduggery. As the midterm primary season rolls along, voters may have noticed a strange phenomenon of political advertising. Democrats paying for ads supporting Republican candidates. Shouldn't be happening, should it? Like, imagine if you're donating to the Democrat Party because you believe in them. You believe in their legislation around identity politics or their regulations around climate change or just deep-held principles around equality. I don't know what the party stand for anymore. I've stopped following it in that kind of way. Imagine, though, that you believed in that stuff. You weren't awakened from that illusion. You were donating money to them. Then you found out, what'd you do with that money I give you? Oh, see this Republican candidate? Yeah, I hate him. Well, see this advert? Oh, I hate it. You fucking paid for it, mate. In multiple states, including Colorado and Illinois, Democrats have been attempting to boost far-right Republicans under the assumption they would be easier. So, on one hand, they tell you that Republicans are far-right and you have to watch out for this rise of the far-right. Then they cherry-pick far-right candidates and emphasise and amplify their arguments. So just so you know, in case you are like a libertarian, right-wing type person, and, you know, all respect to you if you are. You're entitled to be whoever you want. I welcome you with my heart open. I'm not into the Republican Party. I'm not into far-right politics. I believe in you as an individual. I believe in communities. I believe in localism. I believe in checking corporate power, breaking down state power, and enabling ordinary people from all backgrounds to run their own communities according to their creeds, their identities, their religions, however they want to run their communities. That's where I stand on this thing. But one of the great tropes of contemporary politics is that the Republican Party is getting more right-wing, and perhaps it is, I don't know, or more racist, I don't know, I'm not sure. But one thing we can now tell you is that the Democrat Party are paying for adverts for far-right Republicans in order to bias the perception of the Republican Party. You know why they've got to do stuff like that, don't you? Because they can't say, well, if we get in, what we're going to do is we're going to make your life better by controlling corporate interests, by bringing down drug prices, by stopping Congress people owning stocks and shares in companies that they regulate. We'll stop lobbying. We'll look into dirty money in politics. Not going to do any of that. So what we'll do instead is we'll create some sort of daft, lunatic Republican candidate, some straw man or woman to stand against, and then hopefully we'll beat them. In 2012, $1.7 million on an advertising blitz during the GOP primary to highlight the conservative credentials of candidate Todd Akin. It was more money than Akin's campaign has spent through the entire primary. The Democrats spent more money advertising a Republican candidate than that candidate did themselves. If you want to see an example of how these parties are enmeshed and ultimately in support of the same self-sustaining systems, well then look at this example where Claire McCaskill, a Democrat candidate's campaign money, was spent on a Republican candidate. You can't get a more literal example than that. There were 3 viable candidates and Todd Akin was kind of the weirdest one, McCaskill said. I knew he might say some weird things if he were nominated and he had less money. So that's not what you should be spending your time doing, should you? She should be going, right, we've got to make things better for vulnerable people. We've got to make sure small businesses thrive. Lower class people, middle class people, ordinary Americans from all backgrounds should be having opportunities to pursue the principles enshrined in our Constitution. Yeah, we could do all that. This Aiken, though, he's a weird motherfucker. Don't you think we could somehow create a Coca-Cola is it type campaign around this goofy schmo that will distract people from reality? Yeah, well, wouldn't that be immoral? Yes, it would, and also effective. McCaskill put her name on the ads as it's required for political advertising, but casual viewers may not have realised they were paid for by a Democrat. I wouldn't have realised that. I thought you'd have better things to do with your campaign money than highlight a potential opponent. I also think that the entire ideology of politics is exposed by this story. It shows you that it is a game about pursuing power. Like, think about this. It doesn't even make sense to try and contemplate. I just want to help ordinary people. I just want to help them live better lives. That's why I want to become a politician. Therefore, this nutcase Todd Aiken, let's highlight him using Democrat campaign funding. Highlight him to a position of prominence, then we can beat him. So much sort of strategy and skullduggery and downright stupidness. That couldn't exist in a cohesive and legitimate system, could it? You'd go, well, don't do that. Can you not think of, I don't know, Abraham Lincoln or George Washington or Thomas Jefferson? 80 years ago, we created a bogus campaign to distract people from the fact that we're inept and don't have any original ideas. For most of the primary season, Aiken had been behind in the polls, but he surged in the last 2 weeks of the campaign as McCaskill's ad, this nitwit, it's also like quite a good film actually, isn't it? It's quite a good film idea. Don't nick it, this is my idea, I'm keeping this. And then that guy actually wins on, hey, I'm gonna become a big shot in Washington, Ma! And then he sort of becomes president. Has that already happened? Fast forward a decade and some Democrats are hoping to replicate that strategy by boosting GOP candidates who say, I know some of you guys think that as well, don't you, you saucy little sods. In Pennsylvania, Democratic gubernatorial nominee Josh Shapiro spent hundreds of thousands of dollars on TV ads attacking GOP primary candidate Doug Mastriano. While the ads were negative, they deliberately gave skepticism, reverse psychology that Mastriano himself welcomed. I'm going to have to send him a thank you card, Mastriano later told a local news outlet after seeing the ads. Mastriano went on to win the Republican nomination for governor in May. Sending a thank you card, that's the least corrupt thing that's happening in all this. That's just common courtesy. It's funded your entire campaign. In California, a political action committee affiliated with the Democratic House Speaker Nancy Pelosi paid for ads explicitly promoting conservative GOP candidate Chris Mathis over his more moderate competitor in the state's 22nd congressional district. I think that's actually outrageous. There's no sort of rules. It's a completely lawless space. The explicit agenda of politics has become so obscured that you can't actually sort of find it anywhere within the framework, can you? So this is that thing where babies are going to get looked after, where old people have dignity, and where business people can run a business, and where communities are looked after. How can you see that when it's like people going, oh, I'm going to send you a thank you card, and people funding people because they think they look like crackpots? It's crazy. And they know that corruption is rife. They know that their vote is sort of meaningless, and whether they're right or not about the kind of machinations of electoral fraud, they're certainly right about the spirit of the problem. It's corrupt. In recent weeks, a progressive super PAC in Colorado began running ads highlighting the conservatism of state representative Ron Hanks, a Tom Hanks ripoff. Hi, I'm Ron Hanks, and this is my movie, Large. Life is like a box of candies. That's what my old mama used to say anyhow. Did you see my movie, Cast Offshore, where I was friends with a basketball called Reebok? It was a great show. Ron Hanks, who has questioned the legitimacy, released a statement accusing the far-left primaries could be risky for Democrats. Polls show that a clear majority of Republicans serve them right, wouldn't it? If they paid for the adverts of people that ended up ultimately beating them. And if they can't even hand dear old Joe Biden a cheat sheet that he can hold the correct way round, or if Nancy Pelosi can't get through a celebratory inauguration without elbowing a child right up its daughter's side, then how can they be expected to handle something as Machiavellian as this strategy? This while a political shift is beginning to take hold across the childish, who helped fuel the Democratic Party's gains in recent years, are becoming Republicans. More than 1 million party over the last year are analysed by the Associated Press. The previously unreported number reflects a phenomenon that is playing out in virtually every region of the country, Democratic and Republican states, along with cities and small towns, in the period since President Joe Biden replaced former President Donald Trump. Hardly surprising, is it, when the Democratic Party aren't fulfilling any of their campaign promises and are literally funding the campaigns of their opponents. Few people predicted. What was not often acknowledged in Trump's heated race against Democrat Hillary Clinton, however, was how her campaign fueled his rise to power. Oh, right, so they sort of learned it there. Hold on a minute. Everything we're doing to support Hillary Clinton is putting Donald Trump in office. So what if we support Donald Trump? Then maybe that'll put Hillary Clinton in office. And then we'll be living in a better world for everyone. In its self-described Pied Piper strategy, Pied Piper led children to their deaths. He's not a great guy, and he's not a great role model. The Clinton campaign proposed intentionally cultivating extreme right-wing presidential candidates, hoping to turn them into the new mainstream of the Republican Party in order to try and increase Clinton's chance of winning. That went well. The Clinton campaign and Democratic National Committee called for using far-right candidates as a cudgel to move the more established candidates further to the right. Rather than just saying, like, let's actually become legit, actual public servants and run campaigns and, when in administration, run a country based on principles that have been enshrined in our Constitution that most people broadly agree with. Let's just take one example. 83% of people want pharmaceutical prices regulated so Americans pay a reasonable price for the drugs they probably don't even bloody well need in the first place, that they've been advertised to death with. They can't even do that. Clinton's camp insisted that Trump and other extremists should be elevated to leaders of the pack, and media outlets should be told to take them seriously. The strategy backfired royally. As examples of these Pied Piper candidates, the memo named Donald Trump, as well as Senator Ted Cruz and Ben Carson. No wonder the Clinton campaign had to try to create an affiliation with Russian agents and Russian secret services. It was their bloody fault that Trump... Firstly, it's their fault because the Democratic Party is ineffectual and doesn't deliver on promises, and Obama betrayed ordinary working people by signing those deals with Wall Street after the financial crash. Then during the campaign, they were funding and telling the media to highlight Trump. Oh shit, this has gone terribly wrong. Oh no, Trump's going to be president. Do you know whose fault this is? Russia! Other messages published by the whistleblowing organisation show how while the Clinton camp was facilitating the rise of Trump, it was systematically undermining the campaign of Senator Bernie Sanders, Clinton's left-wing opponent. This guy Sanders, we gotta fuck him up. This guy Trump, let's elevate him. Then I'll be president of the whole United States of America. Be free of any threats from the left. We'll have to do things to serve ordinary people. Free from Donald Trump. Wait, what's going on? Oh, shit! Leaked emails from the Democratic National Committee show that the organisation, which is supposed to be bound in impartiality, sabotaged Sanders' insurgent presidential campaign, which had mobilised millions of people and inspired a massive grassroots movement. Instead of harnessing that, instead of saying, hey, wait a minute, look at that. This guy, he's inspiring ordinary Americans. I've not seen a political movement like this. What should we do? What, could we harness it? Could we use that to create a new kind of politics that serves ordinary American people, to make the banks accountable, bring down big business, have a reliable mainstream media? And here's the guy to do it. Ron Hanks! Okay, so there you have it. Politics in America, perhaps across the world, is a game that's about sustaining systemic power and serving donors, big business, big media, globalist corporations, and ignoring the will and even the needs of ordinary people. A story like this, although some aspects of it might be quite frivolous and even humorous, and some aspects of it might even make a kind of strategic sense. It sort of shows, if you ask me, the strategic disingenuity at the heart of this system, a system that has lost its connection, its function, the function of the system. It's like a car forgetting it's supposed to be driven, or an apple forgetting it's supposed to be eaten, although apples don't know they're supposed to be eaten, and apples trying to sustain a cycle of life. That's a bad example. But this is a constructed system that's supposed to be at your service, and the fact that it's become some ridiculous game is the perfect metaphor that lets you know where American politics stands right now. But that's just what I think. Let me know what you think. That's so much more important than what I think. Let me know in the comments below what you think of this story. How do you feel about these kind of candidates? How do you feel about these kind of tactics? What do you think about those Clintons? You love them, right? Give this video a thumbs up if you liked it. If you enjoyed this video, have a look at either of these. Sign up to my mailing list right now, because who knows what the algorithm's next move will be. Sign up to that mailing list so I can stay in direct contact with you, tell you about what I do every single week, live Zoom calls, live events, fantastic stuff, going deeper on these subjects, and new plans for our movement. More important than any of that though, please stay free.